Hey everyone, thanks for signing up to build a more authentic fundraising strategy for your shelter. I know for many of us, fundraising is not the most enjoyable part of the job, far from it. We just want people to give, to see what we're doing, see their part in it, and give what they can. This workshop is all about finding what it is that gets people to give and then building a marketing machine to attract more people. Okay, so here's what you're going to get out of the next 30 minutes or so: how to build and maintain stronger relationships with your entire community. I know many of you are so busy running your shelter that it's sometimes difficult to make those connections. And how do we know we're doing a good job? We're looking at volunteer turnover, adopter return rate, event attendance. These are all things that we can use to measure how we're doing. But by the end of this workshop, I also want you to develop more confidence in your shelter's ability to execute digital marketing strategies, more than just maintaining your social media page and posting just to post. We're going to get into the fundamentals of a digital marketing strategy. 3, we're going to explore what's the right messaging? How should we be talking to the public? How do we know where we have the right messaging? Is it time to update the adopt, don't shop mantra? I surely think so. Ultimately, we're going to go over all the tools you need to build your marketing machine, your programs that you can set and forget. But first, who the heck am I and how did I become a marketing consultant for animal shelters? Well, hi, I'm Nikki Andrade, founder of Smooth Adopter, and this is Little Meatball. This is my favorite picture of us, by the way, because it's just Meatball in a nutshell. He always has to be part of the party no matter what. I started my marketing career in brand management, working for various food companies. It was there where I learned a ton about online marketing and the theory behind how to craft authentic marketing strategies. But I hated it. To me, it felt pointless. I was sick of helping these companies sell blah food. My education is actually in social entrepreneurship. I got into Babson College, which still to this day has the best entrepreneurship program in the country. And I'm really proud of that. But like many people in the animal shelter industry, well, I'm here because I fell in love with an animal. Meatball, again, shows back on him. We're just gonna pause so you can absorb all of his cuteness and attitude. But I love him. He's my baby. As you can see, I jumped on the Frenchie train. Rescuing just wasn't on my mind back then. In 2016, I moved from Boston to Texas to work on Texas's number one pasta brand, Skinner Pasta. And that's when, for the first time in my life, I saw stray dogs and cats roaming around. One day, I actually saw a dead dog laying in the middle of the road. I grew up in Rhode Island, and going to school in New England, there's just something that we don't see every day up there. And I know in retrospect, this shouldn't have been shocking. We hear about homeless animals all the time, but it never really quite stuck with me before until seeing it. Long story short, that's how I got here, talking to you about making more money for your shelter so we can save more animals together. Okay, let's start with your current business model. Do you know what it looks like? It's okay if you don't. Many small businesses don't realize what model they're using. They don't need to. They've been operating the same way for so long, and what they've done has worked for so long that they've never had to stop and reflect. But rethinking your business model is the path forward to change in any industry. Look at Spotify, Netflix, Uber. They all use drastically different business models than their competition when they first started. And today, their why, our relationship with music, entertainment, transportation, has changed forever. Before Spotify, the consumer had all the power and was able to illegally download whatever they wanted. Remember the days of LimeWire and Napster? I'm surely guilty. Spotify offered something different. They offered music consumers the promise of an intelligent software that would help them discover more music that they love. It promised to get to know them over the years, and it sure did. With this model, customers were willing to pay, so that way artists could finally get a cut of their own music without it being taken illegally from them. What did their business model look like? Well, it put consumers and artists at the center. The consumer no longer had all the power. Let's look at the death of Blockbuster. This is the famous one. Blockbuster was still operating as if their consumer didn't all of a sudden have access to streaming technology. But Netflix sure saw this opportunity, and they saw how stubborn Blockbuster was being. So they built a business model that put the current consumer needs at the center. So what can we learn from this example? We're looking at a business model that was putting an old consumer in the center and not changing. And then we have Netflix that finally saw that opportunity and put the new consumer right in the middle. Okay, let's look at the taxi industry. Remember the days where you get into a taxi without really knowing how much the total ride would be? A trip to the airport could run you something crazy like $60. Taxi's business models, again, put yesterday's consumer in the middle of their business model. They were completely ignorant to the fact that their current consumer was all of a sudden carrying around a smartphone in their hand and that scheduling apps were becoming easier and easier to create. Uber's app was made with the intention of creating a more fair system. Their business model centered around the driver needs and the consumer needs. So there are a lot of lessons we can learn here from these industries. Obviously, technology played a huge factor in all of these industries, but the major point I want you to take away is rethinking your business model is not optional. It's survival. It's the only path forward to real change in any industry. So, what does your business model look like? Well, drawing your model first starts with where money is spent, adoptions, and how money comes in, fundraising. All shelters are a bit different, right? But at a very fundamental level, shelters revolve around rescuing animals and then fundraising to support that life saving work. Adoptions are shaped like a funnel to represent the matchmaking. Not everyone who comes to you ends up adopting, right? Only a few make it down to the ends of the funnel. The same thing with fundraising. You ask a lot of people to donate, but only a few do. The major point here is that one funnel, fundraising, greatly supports the other, adoptions. One funnel makes money, the other costs money. And at the end of it all, animal needs are at the very center of the business model. We're trying to find the best match for every animal. Now, the two greatest inefficiencies with this business model is that it needs to be disruptive and exclusive. What do I mean by that? Well, a disruptive marketing tactic is anything that is solicited, sending a piece of mail to someone's house or to someone's email box that they weren't expecting. It's not spam, they just weren't expecting it. So, by definition, it's disruptive. Advertisements that pop up on your phone automatically are disruptive. Events themselves can be disruptive if solicitation is taking place at the event. Ultimately, having to ask people for money in any context is disruptive. The goal is to fundraise without asking, to lead by example, to inspire people to give on their own. Disruptive marketing isn't always bad. You've seen firsthand how it is working at your shelter. And it certainly works for the beauty and fashion industry. It works for a lot of industries. Almost all businesses use a bit of disruptive marketing. So I don't want you to think it's bad. By exclusive, I don't mean to say that your shelter is operating like Regina George and the Mean Girls. Of course, your shelter wants to connect with as many people as possible. But your current business model puts animals at the center. So your processes are just not set up to cater to every human coming to you. It's a funnel, remember? There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with being exclusive. There are plenty of businesses that thrive off of being exclusive. But being exclusive fundamentally doesn't align with building a world that is kinder to animals. It just doesn't. Why? Because for this social issue to get better, we need as many people on board as possible, all animal lovers, not just the ones who choose adoption. If you're here with me today, I know you already know this. I know you know the Adopt Don't Shop campaigns really resonated with people back in the early 2000s. It made people wake up, realize the millions of animals being put to sleep every year. It even brought awareness to the term puppy mill. The message was super effective. It served its purpose. But today, moving forward, this message divides us. Purebred owner versus shelter heroes. And again, I know you know this. So why are y'all still hashtagging Adopt Don't Shop? Adopt Don't Shop is an order. It's telling people what to do, what to think. It's turning too many people away. I know it turned me away when I chose to get a Frenchie. And after getting Meatball, I would never get a purebred ever again. But I truly had to come to that decision on my own. And I came to that conclusion after reading more about animal cognition. Books by Carl Safina, Franz de Waal, Alexandra Horowitz. I was on a journey to understand more about how my dog's brain worked, what he understood. In that journey, I came to see Meatball in a different way. I no longer saw his squished face and short little legs as cute. I saw it as a source for his constant suffering. But this is just my experience. I can't sit here and tell you that I know for sure that if you put these books in the hands of everyone in America that they'd be as affected by them as I was. What I do know for sure though is that the adopt don't shop mantra is doing more harm than good. Before I left the corporate world, I became really fascinated by this question. What is it that makes someone choose a purebred over a shelter animal? Because I didn't have enough funds to conduct a wide scale quantitative research report at the time, I conducted as many qualitative interviews as I could. I scoured the internet for public forums and I looked into Facebook audience insights to draw some conclusions. If you want to read the full report, you can download it right here, but I'm going to give you the SparkNotes version right now. What I found is that there really isn't much of a difference between purebred owner and shelter animal owner, as you probably would have guessed. Everyone wants the best match. The most influential sources seem to be friends and family. The top sources that came up online when you were looking for the best breed for you, things like breed quizzes, and then of course media, right? That's a huge category, but specifically people's social media feeds and their typical entertainment sources. What I found is that we all want a better life for animals. Homeless animals are going to be part of our society as long as there are demand for pets. It's a byproduct of the industry. There's no way around it. It's up to all of us to really chip in and step up for homeless animals every day. As a shelter, the best message we can be spreading is that we all want a better life for animals. So we need to come together. Again, if you're here with me today, I know you know this, but now we need to update your business model to reflect it. Instead of your business model being based off of exclusivity and disruption, it should be based off of inspiration and inclusivity. So, what's the right model to take us there? I know we all want animals to come first at our shelter, but for just a moment, instead of putting animals at the center of your business model, I want you to put community. Community meaning the people and animals in your community. Quite frankly, meaning anyone online, because we all know the community is not defined by borders anymore. It's possible to share your shelter's mission with the world. When community is at the center of your business model, our goal then becomes to nurture, support, and inspire the people coming to you who already want to help. Our goal is to keep them engaged, informed, and passionate about spreading the shelter's mission. Most importantly, passionate about fundraising. But as you know, the problem is many people don't come to the shelter wanting to help fundraise. They usually have a very specific way for how they want to help. Some people only want to volunteer to walk the dogs once a week. That's great, right? But that doesn't mean we can't influence them in a different direction. When I talk about your shelter having more confidence in your marketing strategy, this is what I mean. Having more confidence in your ability to influence people. Shelters seem to operate thinking that they can't push people too much, and that's a good gut feeling to have. We don't want to push people. It's all about inspiring and showing people the path that you want them to take without them realizing that's the path you want them to take, if that makes sense. But I want to help you build a marketing machine that meets consumers where they're currently at, where they currently want to volunteer, how they currently want to help, but then paves a path for them to join you on your journey and makes it very easily. So, how are we going to do this? How do we motivate people? And how do we keep track of where everyone is in their personal journey to becoming a donor, a fundraiser, a fan? There are three fundamental things you'll need in order to do this. And these three fundamental things make up the basis for any online business. And that is constantly creating content, testing its performance and tweaking, and then constantly tracking your activity. Okay, let's do an exercise. When planning out any kind of marketing strategy, I find it really helpful to put yourself in the stranger's shoes for a moment and try to write down the whole journey you'd like them to take. Let's go through an example of what a new volunteer's experience could look like and how we could rope them into becoming a real supporter of the shelter. Let's say someone was scrolling through their social media feed when they came across an acquaintance's post about them volunteering at your shelter. Maybe that triggers them to also want to help to take action. Their next step is doing a Google search for a local animal shelter. They come across your homepage and easily find the volunteer section, which maybe looks something like this. It's not overly complicated with details. it has an uplifting, inspirational video or a message that essentially makes the viewer interested in the volunteer program. The call to action at this point is simply to submit their email. Keep it short. From there, they're taken to another similar looking page with a video for your full online orientation. Or maybe they get distracted. Maybe they see that video is 30 minutes long, 20 minutes long, and they're not ready for it. So if that's the case, your automated email software kicks in and emails them with the orientation link. This way they can come back to it at another time. Either way, once the viewer gets to this stage, I promise you your volunteer orientation does not need to be as detailed as it probably is right now. I've gone to so many volunteer orientations that last 3 hours. It's crazy. You really only need to be delivering 2 key messages right now. One, how they can help. They can help by signing up to complete modules. The more modules they complete, the more varied types of tasks they can sign up for, the more responsibility they can have. We'll get to modules more in a second. And 2, this is your time to talk about what your community believes in. This is your moment to break the adopt, don't shop preconceived notion that a lot of people have walking into your shelter. This is your time to not let that hate energy come into your shelter. It's time to tell a different narrative where we all want a better life for animals, and homeless animals will always exist in every community wherever pets exist. So it's up to us to do what we can to help. Next, they'll arrive at your page that shows all the modules. Perhaps you have one for handling dogs, one for handling cats, a separate one for leading an event. You get the idea. These videos don't have to be fancy. They're designed to be short and informative. After they finish a module, you could serve them a simple quiz, just to make sure they understood what will be asked of them. From there, you want to get them up and running and on their way to volunteering. So you want to help them sign up for tasks. On the back end, you'll be able to see where people are in their consumer journey. Sam OG, he has 25 points because he completed the orientation and 1 module. Your software's next step will probably be to prompt the volunteer coordinator to reach out to him, give him a phone call, personally welcome him and see if he needs anything before he signs up to complete his first task. Julia Brown, she has 40 points. She's already completed 4 tasks, but they're all the same. They're all walking dogs. The software's automated action might be to send her emails to entice her to sign up to learn about a different module. You're probably saying, wait, hold up, Nikki, what kind of software is this? Who is managing it? What kind of fantasy world are you living in? We don't have software engineers on staff here. I get it, but I promise you these types of marketing and sales softwares exist, and you don't need to be a marketer or a website coder to figure them out. Because and a lot of you are probably maybe already using softwares like this. I'm talking about HubSpot, Salesforce, ActiveCampaign. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're not using any type of marketing software on the back end of your website. Either way, this software is becoming easier for the average business owner to manage. It's becoming more user-friendly, which is great because it's really the foundation for a strong online marketing strategy. It's the foundation for building that journey that inspires people to come to your shelter, for building those strong relationships. And that's why, you can't outsource this stuff. You can't pay someone else to make the relationships you need to be making for yourself. You really can't pay someone else to manage the software for you. You need to learn it. My goal is to help you navigate this online, scary marketing world. And my dream is for the average, everyday local animal shelter to become the most integrated part of every community. For pets to one day not be considered property in the eyes of the law anymore. Truly, I don't think we're that far away from this world, and I believe building strong animal shelter communities will lead that change. So here's how I help. I design marketing and strategy implementation courses specifically for animal shelters. My courses are completely video-based. They come with worksheets, questionnaires for you to fill out along the way, and you can message me at any time. They're designed for your whole leadership staff, for your volunteer and foster program coordinators, your lead adoption coordinators, your marketing staff if you have any, and even interested board members and upper management. Once you complete the courses, I'll work with you and your team on creating a personalized implementation plan just for your shelter. And I'll be working with you every step of the way to reach your fundraising goals. Whether your shelter is big, small, whether you have a large marketing budget, no budget at all, I work with shelters of all sizes. So, why should you work with me and not some full service marketing agency? Well, I have 4 really good reasons for you. Again, you don't want someone doing your marketing for you. You can't pay someone to build the relationships that you need to make for yourself. You can pay an artist to help you design an ad, you can pay Facebook to display that ad, but you need to be learning the strategy for yourself. You've heard the saying before, you can give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Or you can teach a man how to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. And this is not the type of stuff that we learned in college. Like, I know a lot of people in the animal shelter industry come from business backgrounds, come from all sorts of backgrounds. But this online marketing space is really new, and it's something we're still figuring out. 2, I'm not here to replace your marketing staff. I'm here to work with them. I don't care what marketing softwares you're already using, what other marketing partners you may be working with. I don't care if you're using PetPoint or Shelter Love. I'm here to help you build the shelter you want to be with the resources you currently have, which means I'm a non-biased source. I don't get commissioned from any of the software partners I recommend. And lastly, I'm never going to charge you a retainer. The relationship between us will always be mutual on a month-to-month basis. Either party free to walk away anytime with a 30-day notice. And now the big question, how much does this all cost? For access to all the courses, unlimited consulting meetings all year round, a personalized implementation plan that we would write together and follow through on. Well, it's not open yet. I know. Sorry to disappoint. We're a couple months away. The good thing is, though, if you sign up now, I promise you'll be getting first dibs when the doors do open and a heavy discount. But it's going to be an extremely small enrollment allowance. I'm talking only 25 to 50 shelters admitted because we're still a small team. So reserve your spot now before it's too late. You got nothing to lose. You can do so right here, right at the link. Reserve your spot. So thanks a lot for today, guys. Thank you for joining me. And remember, you can DM me anytime on the gram, on my website, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Thanks.